Hi guys. Yeah, we're out here clamming today. Brought some buddies. My wife, he's doing the filming right now, Monica. But yeah, we came out to get some Pismo clams to possibly make some chowder. I might go ahead and make some of that tomorrow, so you'll probably get to see that hopefully on Papa Leroy Cooks. Anyways, so they got to be 4.5 inches. So when you come out here, you got to have at least a gauge and see if it fits inside this little thing right here, from the widest point to the widest point. If it fits in there, it's a short, but if it's bigger than that, which these are, it's illegal. So we'll catch up with you probably tomorrow, and we're gonna make some clam chowder.
We got our limit. Some pretty nice ones.
Let me see.
There they are.
How's the climbing fork work?
You gotta use your foot a little bit more, I think.
Through this water.
I say, well, I guess it's not gonna matter.
We just gotta get one more bucket, so I'll take your weight.
Okay.
Holy smokes, those are huge. Look at the size of those.
Solid legals.
Bringing the water in. It's because we do 2 or 3 or 4 changes of water with an aerator to clean them out.
Good muddy water.
So this is what I mean by you know, we got a little portable battery operated air pump, and then we put them in clean salt water, the clean as you can. They're filter feeders, so they're going to filter the water and they're going to spit out all the sand. You need to do this so you have nice clean clams. The better you do this, the better product you're going to have when it's time to clean the clams. There's not going to be, if you saw, there was no sand in my clams at all. So they've been sitting in salt water. I changed the water once because we brought home extra seawater, and as you can tell, look at the water's almost crystal clear. There's stuff floating on the top, but that's the stuff they spit out. So that's what makes the clam so clean. So that's how I do it. Do it however you want. If you're just going to soak them overnight and let them sit, they normally will spit most of the sand out. Some people put cornmeal in the water. I don't know if it's really necessary. I don't never do that. So, but it works just the way I do it. That's how I do it, and it just keeps them clean. If you change it and do it 2 days in a row, they're really clean. So they'll make the best clam chowder. A little abalone pounder, you can use a hammer, right? Just make sure it stays up, right? Just enough to get a thin-bladed bendable fillet knife. You want to go to one side and cut the abductor muscle. And believe it or not, there's 2 abductor muscles. There's one on either side. So we'll get in here and we'll cut this one too. Once you cut that one, you can open up the clam. See, one on either side. So what I like to do, you don't necessarily have to take that part off, but I do like the abductor muscles. They cook up just fine, and they're a little chewier than most. So I like to keep those. I just go along the edge, cut that abductor muscle, cut the other one here. Just make sure you don't cut yourself. Pull the clam out. Okay. We might have to cut it a little bit here. And that's a fully clean clam. And then there's the liquor. You want to keep that. Alright, so we got done with cleaning the clams. You saw me how I used my meat cleaver and did that. And I did them in these pans over here to reserve the liquor. Okay, so what I did with the liquor is I strained it through a piece of paper towel. And this is what you come up with. That's the flavor of clam chowder right there. You want to save as much of that as you can. So once I strain it there, just in case there's any residual sand or anything. That's why I do it like that. So we end up with the clams here, okay? And this is pretty much what you got. Now this part right here with the little black things, that's the siphon. That's how they eat. So that's the part that you see sometimes that'll stick out of a clam. So what I like to do is I like to split it open. And I take off this black part. We don't want that because sometimes there could be some sand in there. So just as long as it's clean, you don't see any little brown bits or anything like that. And that's just like a clean mussel. There's a little bit more I'll just take off right there. Okay, and there you go. That's that part. Now this is the whole body of the clam. There's the insides. So what I do is I split it open. Gotta have a fairly sharp knife. Okay, and that's the insides of it. It's real soft. You can feel it. And what I do is I just stick a knife in there, almost like I'm filleting a fish. Okay, and then I'll do the same thing for the other side. I'll scrape the gut part off, which we don't want. These little brown bits, we'll go ahead and clear those off too. And then what you're left with is just the meat of the clam, okay? All right, I can probably take just a little bit more off there. There you go. And that we'll discard, and that's what we're gonna keep. And we're gonna chop that up into bite-sized strips. I could do that right now to show you. What I'll do is I'll just strip it up into little pieces like this, and that's gonna be the clam that you put in your chowder. Okay, ready to go. Boom. Here, I did one earlier, so we'll go ahead and cut this one. It's nice and clean on the inside. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just chop it up. And this is what we use for the clam chowder. And you'll see it later on. Here's some of the little abductor mussels. I like to put those in there too, so I keep those as well when I find them. Okay, this is the eye part that sticks to the top of the shell. This is all good meat right there. There's an abductor mussel. And there we go. We put it all inside here. And that's gonna be the clam that goes inside the chowder. And that's how you clean a clam. So as you can see, I have quite a few to go. So once I get these done, we're gonna go ahead and start the clam making, or the chowder making process. And it'll be a step-by-step so you can figure it out. But this is what cleaning the clam does. And if you soak it in fresh salt water, and I always put an aerator in there just to keep it so it's oxygenated, so the clams have plenty of air. They will spit out all the sand, and you'll be left with a clean clam. As you notice, there's no sand in any of this. There's no sand in there. There's no sand in my buckets or anything. It's because of the process of them, purging the sand. You want to do that process as long as you can. 2 days max, because they will start to get, I think they will start to die after a couple of days because they're not in their environment. But like I said, I do it for a couple of days with the aerator. So anyways, without much more of that, I'll go ahead and clean the rest of these clams, and then we'll see for the actual chowder making process. Squeeze it all out. See that? There's a lot of juice that comes out of those clams. And that's called the liquor. That's called the liquor, and that's exactly what you want to save. Okay? Comes out pretty clean. No sand, no debris. See, there's a couple of things floating in there, see them?
Yep.
Yeah, that's why I use the paper towel. Just to make sure it comes out clean.
No shell.
Ultra fine.
Yeah. Okay. Put this over here. And see, that's why I don't like to push the knife all the way down. You see, you
Got
kind of
it.
already killed the clam and cut it open. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this knife. I'm going to show you just a little bit more juice. So this is how I clean the clam for chowder. If you're going to do chowder, I take off all the brown bits. That's the abductor mussel. I'll keep that. Okay, the other abductor muscles on this side. Okay, so that's his siphon. See, that's what he digs through the sand and eats with. Thing that comes out of the clam. Okay, I cut the ends of it off, and then I split the middle with this to make sure there's no sand. Because if there is any sand, that's where it'll be. It'll be inside there, because that's what he digs with. Or he digs with this part, but he actually goes through the sand looking for food with these things. Okay, so and then I just cut these up in little pieces.
If you want to do fried clams, how would you do it?
If you're going to do fried clams, do the same thing, but I wouldn't cut the little pieces like this. I would probably, okay, and this is the belly. That's the belly right here. So what I do is I take the knife and stick it in, and kind of fillet the belly open. And that's the part you don't want, that brown stuff and this real soft stuff. I like to take it out. Just run my knife through it. Flip it over. Do the same thing on this side. It's kind of almost like you're filleting a fish almost, but you're just you don't want those brown bits in there. That's the stomach right there, all that. Okay, and that's what you're left with. It's just the meat of the clam, right? And I wouldn't wash this off at this point with fresh water because you're just going to wash the clam flavor away. Okay, that's the liquor that I saved, the juice from the clam that's been strained for the cooking process.
And how many clams is that?
20 clams, just the meat, clean and ready to go. Okay,
What's next?
all right, next we're going to start cooking. So Brian's never made clam chowder before, so it's kind of a tutorial for him. So I have a pretty big cruet pot. We're going to put that on like about medium high. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to crisp up some bacon. So we're going to throw, it's about, I don't know, probably like a pound of bacon. Okay, and we're just going to fry this until it's crispy. Okay, might want to put it up just a little bit more. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and fry that, and then when it's done, we'll come back and I'll show you the rest of the process.
Okay.
No, but yeah, it's whatever you want. Like that's 8 russet potatoes, big, large russet potatoes cut up, and you want to cut them up and cube them up to like about ½ inch because you don't want a big potato in your mouth when you're eating this. You kind of like, and they'll cook a lot faster. Okay, and then when you cut them small like that, they release more starch. Starch is good because starch is a thickener, so it thickens your broth along with. Okay, my bacon is done. So I've crisped it up. I'm going to go ahead and pull it out because we are going to use that as a garnish later. Because if you just leave it in here, it'll just get rubbery and not too good. See, if you want, this is going to be like a garnish on top of our chowder when I'm done. You'll see it at the very end. But what we really wanted to do is, if you see all that brown stuff on the bottom of the pan, that's what we were after. All that bacon grease and all this, all the brown stuff, that's just flavor. So that's going to add a lot of flavor to our chowder. Okay. So you don't have to get it all out, but I'm just going to get a majority of it out. So that'll be our garnish for later. Okay. Next, I'm going to turn my heat back up to about medium, and I have 8 tablespoons of butter. Going to be the first thing that goes in. Good quality butter is good, whatever you like. You can use salted or unsalted, it really doesn't matter. If you use salted, make sure you taste it before you add more salt, because you know, I'm going to turn that down just a little bit more, probably to a little bit less than medium. And what I have here is about 4 or 5 large shallots that I chopped up really fine. We're going to go ahead and add those in there. And if you like onions, you can use any type of onion you want. You know, I'm making a very large pot of chowder, so you know, as much onion as you like, that's what you want to put in there. I'm just going to leave those in there and let them cook up just a little bit. Melt that butter. Scrape the bottom of the pan, get that nice stuff off the bottom. That's what you want. That's where the flavor's at right there. See how it's coming off right there on the bottom? That's what we're looking for. It's just gonna add flavor to my chowder. Now we got I got about maybe 8 stalks of celery, finely sliced. We're going to throw those in there. Slowly cook those up with shallots. My vegetables are nice and sweated in the butter and everything, so now I'm going to start adding some flour. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit for right now, probably about 3/4 of a cup, and I'm going to stir it. What I'm trying to go for is a roux. Okay, you're going to see it start to thicken up immediately. Okay, probably needs a little bit more. So probably, how much did I got here? Probably about a cup and a half of flour. And we're just gonna go ahead and cook that on medium heat for a while. We want to be able to cook the flour taste out of it. So it has to cook a while, the flour, because if not, your chowder would be kind of like pasty, like you'll taste the flour. So you want to go ahead and continue to cook this stuff on medium heat for, I'd say, about, probably about 3 or 4 minutes. Okay. We're not looking for a dark roux, like a dark roux, like you'd be want, like say you were doing a gumbo or something. We just want to cook the flour. And if you notice, all the brown bits are starting to come up at the bottom, and that's going to be my flavor. Okay, we're just going to let that simmer a little bit. Butter. Now I've cooked my flour, my roux, for a while. I'm going to go ahead and add the liquor from the clam. Plus I'm going to add just some store-bought clam juice. Just to add more liquid to it, because like I said, I am making a very large batch of clam chowder, so and stir this up. We're going to bring this to a boil, so we'll turn it up high. And what we're looking for is some liquid to cook our potatoes in. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and add my aromatics, which is probably about 4 or 5 minced garlic cloves.
Shallot.
I have some just dried parsley, about a tablespoon, about a tablespoon of fresh ground black pepper, and a couple of tablespoons of just regular good quality sea salt. Bring this to a boil. I'm still thinking that I'm going to need a little bit of liquid. So I'm going to take a little bit of this water that I've been steeping my potatoes in, and I'm going to throw that in there. And why I'm doing that is because of the starch that's in this water. Will help thicken up my chowder. And I think I got enough liquid now. And we're just going to go ahead and cover it for now and bring that to a boil. Then we'll throw our potatoes in. Alright, so my stock here is boiling, so I'm going to go ahead and add my potatoes. Okay, and we're going to cook those until they're just about tender, and then we'll do the next step. Okay?
How many pounds of potatoes?
I did 8 large russet potatoes in this one. We're just going to bring that back up to a boil and cook the potatoes. That's the only thing that we're doing now, is cooking the potatoes. And the starch in the potatoes is actually going to be a thickener as well. So that's why we put the potatoes in and cook it in the same. This is all chowder in one pot, So this whole idea is so you get all the flavors of everything in one pot. Okay, so my potatoes have been boiling for like about 10 minutes. They're almost done. I just checked them. They're kind of tender. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in a whole, I think this is a quart of heavy whipping cream. You can use half and half if you'd like. And then I'm going to also throw in about 2 cups of just regular whole milk. You can use half and half. You can use fat-free, whatever you'd like. but I don't see why you use fat-free and use whole whipping cream at the same time. Okay, we're gonna let that come to a boil. And it should thicken up some more. And then the last step is we'll add our clams when this comes to a boil. And we should have chowder. All right, so the last step, I got my cream boiling and starting to thicken up right here. So the chowder is almost done. The last step is to throw the clams in. You don't want to throw them in and cook them too long. They will turn to rubber. So I'm gonna throw them in here in this boiling stuff and cook them for about 2 minutes, and then chowder will be done. Give it a stir and just let it cook. And there you go. That's it. I added the clams. It's been about 2 minutes. The clams are cooked. Like I said, you don't want to cook them too much. I tasted it. You're gonna probably want it to salt it or season it to taste. It needed a little bit more salt, a little bit more pepper, so I went ahead and added that stuff. As you can see, the roux has done its job. It's a really nice, you can, depending on how thick you like it, I don't like my chowder really thick. I like it kind of a little bit thicker than a soup consistency. And that's about how I like it right there. So we're gonna head and cut off the heat to it and let it sit. And there you go. That's it. One pot chowder. I'll show you what it looks like after I plate it. All right, here we go. You gotta scoop down to the bottom. We're gonna get all that goodness at the bottom. And there we go. We're gonna come over here. And as I stated before, we're gonna throw a little bit of garnish on it, which is my bacon. Hope you guys enjoy. Give it a try. See what you think. And like I said, it's up to you how you want to do it. Chowder is really easy, up to interpretation. So you know, you can try it how you like it. You know, you want to omit some stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a try. Pretty hot. Give me a little bit of everything. There's a big chunk of clam, a potato, and a piece of bacon. Oop, lost my clam. There you go. I'm gonna give it a try. See what it tastes like. You should try this recipe at home. Give it a try. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.